here are all the books that I read in 2024. So you're probably here to learn about every single book that I read this year because you clicked on the video for that reason. I didn't read as many books as I wanted to, which is fine. I read a lot of thick books, so that like makes up for the amount because they were like bigger, so it's fine. My goal for reading this year was 35. I have the same goal as last year. Last year I read 30. This year I read 25. And if I like backtrack and like think, that doesn't really seem like a lot. Because it's really not. But we still had a lot of good reads. Like, I think I kind of went more, luckily, quality over quantity this year. We had a lot of good reads. A lot of 5 stars, not a lot of bad. I think my lowest rating was a 3 star. So that is pretty dang good. So first I'm going to start with the first book that I read in 2024, and I'm just going to go all the way through to the last book I read. So the first book that I finished, I started it at the end of 2023, finished it in 2024, is The Christmas Fix. Obviously it's like a Christmas book, so I was reading it during the Christmas time. I rated this book a 3.5 stars. I think that Lucy Score is definitely one of my more favorited authors, and I read her a lot. I was just going into it hoping for some Lucy Scar banter, and I received that. Although I loved the story, I loved the premise of the book, it just got to some points where it was super cringy in the way that they were talking to each other, and the female character, main character, she was just like, I don't know, the way she would like think about things, I was like, ooh. They were just both a bit cringy, and the way they would talk to each other was a bit cringy, but it was definitely still a good Christmas read if you want like a Christmas read that isn't all about just Christmas. There's other like side plots to it just being like about Christmas. The book leads up until Christmas. I don't know what month it starts in, but 3.5, I enjoyed reading the book. I wasn't like, please be done, please be done. Like, I still liked it. One thing about me is that my brain, in one ear, out the other. And the same thing goes with books. I read it, it goes out of my brain pretty fast. So if things can stick in there, then that's good. But like, I forget a lot about books I read. So all the ones in the beginning, like a lot of them, if they're not like up there on like my 6-star reads, even if they are, I still like forget. I just forget. I don't mean to. I just like, my brain doesn't work and it doesn't retain information for long periods of time. So the next book that I read was Love in Other Words. I finally got to this. I've had this on my shelf for a while, and obviously it was like a big TikTok book a few years ago, so I finally got to reading it. I gave it a 5 stars. I don't know if I would lower that or not. See, here's the thing, is because I forget about what I read. Then I'm like, okay, I don't know what I want to rate it now because I can't even remember it. I do remember a lot from it though, and I kind of remember the ending. It was second chance, like childhood friends, so lovers kind of thing. And I just remember the ending just really got me. I just remember the ending like sealed the deal for me, and I gave it a 5 stars. Would I give it a 5 stars if I reread it? I don't know. I love me some good side characters, and this didn't have as much side character moments as a lot of the other like 5-star books that I've read. So the next book that I read was a 6-star read for me, and it's none other than the second book in the ACOTAR series, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. I, like everybody else, love this book, but it actually was not my favorite of the series. I will talk about my favorite of the series because it's coming up. This is my second favorite in the series, so still one of my favorites. I obviously love the couple in here and the character growth, and just all the scenes in here are great. I really, really enjoyed this, and it was just a 6-star read. The series is a 6-star. ACOTAR, I just love it. I love ACOTAR, and I'm super excited to start reading Throne of Glass, but I can't talk too much about the couple in here or anything like that, or anything that happens, because obviously it's the second book in a series, so it would give everything away. But just know that it's so good. I love all the characters in this series. I just love ACOTAR, and I love this too. So the next book I read was Daisy Hates. This is the first book in the Daisy Hates like the Daisy Hates point of view type of book. I read Magnolia Parks in 2023. I loved Magnolia Parks, the first book, 6-star read. I loved that book. I didn't realize how much I would like the Gossip Girl-esque, because I never had watched Gossip Girl. I have recently watched Gossip Girl, and I'm like, that's why I love Magnolia Park so much, because I just love like the rich, like all of them doing each other so wrong, but still like just loving each other to the bone is like just incredible. It just did something to me. But Daisy Hates, this one I gave a 4-star. I definitely like the Magnolia Parks more. I'm a Magnolia Parks girl and BJ, but I still enjoyed this premise. It was like, I feel like this had a lot more plot than the first one, because it was more like, oh, they're doing like more illegal activity. I feel like I like the couple, definitely not as much as Magnolia and BJ, but you know, nothing can compare to Magnolia and BJ. But it was still a 4-star, and I still loved this side of the series that Daisy Hates and stuff is in. I still love that you can kind of see all of the characters in the whole like realm of this world, and it keeps you on your toes, and it keeps it so it's not like repetitive all the time about the same characters, so I like that. The next book is my favorite book of all time, and it is nothing other than A Court of Wings and Ruin. I know, this was my favorite. A lot of people said Asimov is their favorite. I love ACOWAR. I guess I just love more like politics. I don't know. I love reading about the politics in fantasy worlds. It's very interesting to me because you feel like you're like more a part of it because you have like the knowledge of the world. So I don't know. I just think what hit most for me in this was like the family and like the sister kind of stuff that happens, the sister and family and father and all that kind of stuff that happens. Just like, I don't know, it touched my soul. It touched my soul. I don't know. I just love this book. I love it. I love it. I love all the characters, and I love how you kind of got to see everybody in this book. Was most of the book literally you reading about a bunch of people that rule over the different parts of this world, just sitting at a table and talking? Is that what most of this book is you're doing? Yes. Did I eat it up? Also, yes. I don't know why. I could go on and on about this book. I just loved everything about it. Not a single thing did I not like about this book. I loved it. Just favorite book, 6-star read. I think the biggest part of this book was how I got emotional with it. And I don't get emotional with books, movies, anything like that. And the fact that it's a fantasy book and I got that emotional is just crazy to me, that it could bring out that emotion. So ACOWAR, if just go and read the ACOTAR series. It was my first like real dive into fantasy, and I'm so glad that I started reading it, because now I want to read every fantasy series that there is ever. I literally love this world, and I'm hoping there's a next book soon, because I want just everyone's point of view. I want to learn about all the characters. I want just everything. I love it so much, so much. So speaking of ACOTAR series, the next book that I read was A Court of Frost and Starlight. Did this take me a long time to read? Yes. I probably shouldn't have read it right after that. It's a novella, so it's like just a short little thing about what it's like all their POVs, and you kind of get to see like all the characters after ACOWAR and just kind of seeing how they're doing. I feel like if I would have read this more in like the wintertime and stuff, it would have been better because of Frost and Starlight. Like it's more like a wintry read. I feel like I would have liked it more, but I rated this a 4 stars. So it's the only one in the series that I rated anything other than a 6-star read. There's only so much you can rate a novella. Like novellas aren't like super plot heavy kind of books, because it's just like a little snippet. It's kind of getting more to the characters that you love, so it just did that. You get to see the characters that you love more, and not like a super crazy plot line kind of type thing, so you just get to see them. But I gave it a 4 stars. It was still good. I love reading anything about these characters. You could literally write anything about these characters and I'd read it. So next I have Happy Place. This is my favorite Emily Henry book that I've read so far. I've read Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation. I rated it a 4.5. It was close to a 5 stars, but it didn't fully give me that feeling. I mean, it did at the beginning. I don't know. I still really, really loved this book. Really, really loved it. It was super atmospheric, and I love a book that's like super atmospheric, and you're like, when you're reading the book, you like feel like you're like in the world of the book. Like, I love a book that just has a found family and just a bunch of different side characters. I love side characters that add to the story because it keeps it interesting. You don't want to just be following two people the entire time. Like, it just, I love having side characters that add to a book, and I love authors that can make those side characters add so much to the book. The way that she wrote this book was just way, way better than her other ones that I read. The banter was better, everything. Everything about this book was top tier from Emily Henry. And okay, so the next book that I read is not a book that's like hyped up or like anywhere on like BookTube, Book Talk, anything. It's a book that I found myself because when I was younger, the only really books that I read were weirdly historical fiction books and mostly about World War II. It was just this niche thing that I had an interest in, so I would always read historical fiction books about World War II. So I decided I want to pick up another one and see if I still enjoy them. And I picked up The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and I really did enjoy this book. I gave it a 4.5, but it could be a 5-star. I really enjoyed this book, and I don't know if I should even rate it just because of like what it's talking about, but I'm more so rating how the author wrote the story. I'm not really rating the story, I'm just rating the writing of the story. The story was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I literally could always just pick up a book about this time period in this historical traumatic event and just want to learn more about it because it's just, I don't know. There's just something about it that just tugs like at my soul and my heart. I'm like, oh my god, it's just beautiful. Just learning how all these people would just fight through and like it's so sad and tragic, but this story, beautiful. Like them just, oh my god, I can't. If you want a beautiful, heart-wrenching historical fiction book, that's like not, it's literally not long at all. So it's 250 pages. If you want to learn about something tragic and sad, but just a beautiful love story, read this. I loved it. I loved it. Next, I decided to dive into some Elsie Silver, and I started the Chestnut Springs series, so I read Flawless. This book, I rated a 3.5. Looking back, I could honestly rate it a 4, but I think a 3.5 is still a solid rating for this book. I really did like the two characters, and I liked them together a lot, so that's always a plus when you're reading a romance and you actually want the couple to be together. Duh. It was also very atmospheric, and I just loved the setting of it and just them being like, you know, in a small town and like a rant. Like, this was a good, solid read that was a romance, but it was like not like any other romance I had read so far, so I liked that different aspect to it. Because, you know, you don't want to keep reading romance after romance and it being the same exact thing, like the same exact thing. So I like that this was like about a like ranch. I don't even know, like it made cowboys, you know, interesting. The next book I read was in the summer, and obviously I read it in the summer because it's called The Summer of Broken Rules. I loved this book. Again, it was so atmospheric, and I love that about books. It just gave the like nostalgia of a beach summer house, because I used to go with my family to like a beach house every year. We would go, and it was some of my best memories. Like I loved that when I was younger, and this just like gave that type of vibe. And it was so interesting because they're like, it's their annual vacation. Obviously they go to this house like they do every year, which brought that nostalgia to me, but they played like an assassin's game. And I just loved that because the main characters were obviously kind of older. You got to see all the family, and you know, you guys know, I love the found family and the side characters. There were so many good side characters in this book that brought so much to it. I'm out of breath. But I think that the Assassin's game, like, even though the characters were a bit older, that's how it brought out the nostalgia, because they were older but they were still playing this Assassin's game, this like fun little Assassin's game that everyone was playing. I would love to see this book as a movie, and that also gives plus to any book. If I want to see it as a movie, you know I liked it. You know I liked it because I don't watch movies that much, and if I want to see something as a movie, you know I liked it. You know I liked it. Yeah, I gave this a 5 star. I love this book. This is a perfect summer romance book. If you want a summer romance book, read this. I had this for a while because I didn't think it was, I thought it was gonna be boring. Like, I didn't expect anything from it, and I read it and I was like, this gave the nostalgicness that I just love, because I love the feeling nostalgia. It's so gut-wrenching, but I love it. My favorite time to read thrillers is in the summer. I've just realized that because I've read some in the winter and it hits, but it doesn't hit as much as it does in the summer. And it even doesn't hit as much, like even Halloween time, like fall, doesn't hit as much with thrillers as the summertime does. Reading a thriller late into the night in summer, you feel like you're like the only one on this earth, and like it's so creepy. But anyway, I read The House Across the Lake. I've been wanting to read this for a really long time, so I'm glad that I finally got to it. I rated it a 3.5, which is honestly solid for thrillers. I don't usually rate them too high because I don't know, there's just something about them. I don't get scared easily, and this one was eerie enough that it did scare me a little bit, so I like that about it. I like thrillers that things continue to happen. I don't like the thrillers that it's like basically you're just reading a story until it all comes together at the end, because then the entire first part of the thriller that you're reading is just boring until you get to the end and the plot twist happens. I like ones that things continue to happen that are scary, and like you're like always like your jaw's always on the floor. Like, I want my jaw to always be dropped when I'm reading a thriller, not just at the end, if that makes sense. And this pretty much did that, so 3.5. It was a solid read and definitely a good thriller to read in the summer because it's called The House Across the Lake. I don't And then I finally started the Dreamland Billionaires series. I read the fine print. I also gave this a 3.5 stars. This was just a solid romance. I really liked the couple. I really liked how like he started out kind of like grumpy sunshine. I honestly don't mind a grumpy sunshine unless it's like cringy. Like, you can't make the grumpy sunshine cringy. You have to make it like good. Like, I don't know, you have to make it funny, not cringy, to be a good grumpy sunshine. And this one did that pretty good. So I really liked this one. I really liked the couple, and it was a great start to the series. I just started Terms and Conditions in January this year, so that will be talked about not in this video, but I've been really enjoying that one so far. And she did the grumpy sunshine in that amazing. She's been doing it. I'm not finished with it, but it's been good. I really like this 3.5, but I'm really liking Terms and Conditions a lot more. Next, I finally finished this A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, which I read As Good as Dead. I give it a 3 stars. I feel like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder I would raise, but only because the show was good. So it's fresh in my mind now because I watched the show, and I feel like a show can stick in my brain better than reading a book. I gave them all 3 stars, but like they're still really good books, so like maybe they're a 3.5, even a 4. I did really enjoy them, so I don't know, my rating system is kind of, because I'm a very indecisive person, so sometimes I'm like, but I already rated it 3, so like, and I put this as my least favorite, but honestly I probably like this one more than the second one, but I don't know. It's kind of a whole jumbled mess in my brain, and I enjoyed the series. I hope that they continue the Netflix. Was it Netflix? Is it on Netflix? What is it on? No. The Good Girls Guide to Murder show is really good, and it made me like the books even more, so I really appreciate that. But it's a 3-star series, and I think that's solid. If you want a quick, easy, little spooky series, read it. Like I said, we read a lot of big, thick books this year. So did I read a lot less books? Yes. But did I read a lot of thick books? Yes, I did. This next book is Things We Left Behind. This was the 3rd book in the, what is this? Knock 'Em Out series, the Knock 'Em Out series. I really love the Knock 'Em Out series because of the found family. I love a good found family and side characters. This book, a lot of people didn't like and they're expecting a lot more from it, but I really liked it. I rated it 5 stars. I really appreciated the history of when they were younger, and a lot of people were like, but I actually really liked it. I thought it was very emotional and I understood it. I don't know if like people just didn't understand like where the male main character was coming from, but honestly I did. The character development like made for like it just all made sense. I feel like it made sense, and I think that their tension was definitely there, and I really enjoyed reading it. So I gave it 5 stars. I love the Knock 'Em Out series. I love all the characters in this series, and I eat it up every time. With that little mystery at the end, I always love the little mystery at the end. Okay, next, I hadn't read this author in a really long time, and I wanted to see how I would react to a book from her now versus when I like last read a book from her. I read Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. I had this on my shelf for so long because after a while I just wanted to read other authors because I had read so many from her, and I wanted to test out my other like taste in books. So I started reading other authors, other genres, But I decided to go back to a Colleen Hoover book and see how I like it now. And I rated it 4 stars, which is pretty high of a rating. I just really enjoyed the stories. I think that her stories are very good, like palate cleanser, fast read. Like every book I read from her, I read it really fast. So it was good for what I wanted it to be for. Like I wanted to just have a fast book that I could read. I picked it up and it did that. It was fast. I liked, honestly, people mostly just like the mom side of the story, but I honestly like the kid side, I think, more, if I can remember correctly. I honestly like the younger, but I liked both of the couples, so I think that was what picked up the rating more for me, because a lot of people rated it lower because they only liked one side of the story, but I liked both. So it was 4 stars, Regretting You. My only Colleen Hoover book of the year, and I have not bought any more since. Next, we have Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home. I decided to continue with the series because of how much I loved the first Magnolia Parks book. I was like, we need to read the second one, obviously. This one I gave a 4 stars versus the 6 stars that I rated the first book. The only reason I did that was just because I felt that it was very repetitive to the first one, and a lot of the same things like were just happening, which honestly makes sense for their character and like leading up to the last book, so it wasn't like an unnecessary read, and I like still loved reading it. It was still enjoyable. I gave it 4 stars. I still like just getting to see these characters. I mean, that's the point of these books. You get to just watch these characters live, and it was still really enjoyable. I still love anything about these characters, so I still gave it 4 stars and I loved it. Then right after that, I went into Daisy Hates the Grey Undoing, which is the second Daisy Hates book. I gave this one a 4.5 stars because I really enjoyed this one and just how much stronger all the point of views are in this book. I just really liked this storyline more because it was very much more emotional for these characters than the first one, I feel. But I honestly remember the Magnolia Parks side of the story more than the Daisy Hates one. Like some little snippets in my mind are kind of, I don't remember everything. I liked Julian's point of view a lot in this book because I didn't really care for his in the first book, and I think that's why I like this one so much more, is because I actually cared about reading his character and I grew to really love his character. So I gave it a 4.5 and I really loved it, and I'm really excited for the next ones to come out and see where the story takes us, because we kind of got to see the characters a little bit in the last Magnolia Parks book, but not a lot, so I want to see where their side of the story is going. I would also love to see a Henry and Jonah point of view book, so I'm hoping that Jessa Hastings comes out with their, like a book about them and their point of views. I want to see a Henry and Jonah point of view book, please. I would eat that up. I would eat it up. Please, begging. The next book I read was The Inheritance Games. This was my least favorite book of the year. I gave it a 3. I'd probably honestly bump it down maybe. It was like enjoyable, but it was just kind of boring, and I just didn't really like the story. I didn't love the characters. I don't know. It was like okay, but I'm definitely not going to continue this series, I don't think, because people usually like the first one the most, and if I didn't really like the first one, then why would I keep reading it when there's so many other books that I want to read over it? It was still, I don't regret reading it. It was still good, but wasn't anything crazy. Talking too much. Next, I have, of course, another ACOTAR book. This is A Court of Silver Flames. I gave this, of course, another 6 stars. I mean, of course, it's kind of crazy because it is a different point of view, but I feel like if we kept going with the same point of views, it would have got repetitive and boring. So I'm glad we switched point of views. And I honestly really enjoyed getting to see Nesta's character development and everything in this story, and I love Cassian, of course. We had a lot of repetition, but honestly, I didn't mind for the repetition because I think that we were meant to see Nesta's day-to-day life. But how long it took her for her character development made sense for the character, so I don't mind that it was a bit more repetitive, and that's why I didn't care about the repetitiveness, so that's why I gave it a 6 star, and it is just near and dear to my heart, and I loved every second of it. Another thick book by Lucy Score herself again. Forever Never is my next read that I read in 2024. This one I gave a strong 4 stars. Did it have a little bit of cringiness in it? Yes, but at the time that I read it, I honestly was like looking for that like cheesy, just romance. Like I wanted a romance. This gave romance. I love a good Lucy Score small town romance. I love the way she writes her small town romances and how she just like you can envision the whole small town. In Chestnut Springs, the small town feels very small. Like, I don't know, the way Lucy Score does it, there's so many characters, even if they're in like one scene, like it just feels so much more of like a actual like town. Like I feel like I'm in a town. And I love the little mystery that she always adds to them. Not all of them, because I read By a Thread and that didn't have a mystery, but I love when she adds like the small town with the little mystery. This honestly felt like a Knock 'Em Out series book, but I love the Knock 'Em Out series, so I wasn't complaining. It was just, I read it at a perfect time. I read it because I wanted something like this, and it gave exactly what it was supposed to give. The only thing that I didn't like was how physical their relationship kind of was, but again, I was looking for a romance, so I mean, that's what I was gonna get. Like, what else was I expecting? I honestly ate it up though, so 4 star. Next, I started my second dive into fantasy, which was none other than Fourth Wing itself. I gave this a 5 stars. I really enjoyed the enemies to lovers in this. I really enjoyed the tension. I really enjoyed the 2 main characters' connection. I really enjoyed how they spoke to each other, how they acted around each other. It really added, you could feel their tension, you can feel their actual like feelings for each other. And I also, who knew I would like reading about dragons and them talking to each other? Like, I don't, you know how I love my side characters, and these dragons were great side characters, wonderful side characters, if I will. I just ordered the second one. People don't usually like it as much, but honestly, I'm keeping my hopes up because the end was insane. I did not see it coming at all. I was honestly flabbergasted. Maybe I'm just dumb, but I was flabbergasted. But yes, 5 stars. Really excited about reading the next one. I loved it, and this just proved that I am starting to really love fantasy, and who knew? Then I read the second book in the Chestnut Springs series, which is Heartless. This is a lot of people's favorites, but I honestly liked it less than Flawless. I gave this a 3 stars. I did love the kid. I did love, like, I liked their connection. I just think that it wasn't like anything crazy. I liked the atmosphere of the first one better for some reason, because I feel like this one they were like in their house a lot. I feel like if there was more scenes outside the house, like doing more things outside of it, I might have liked it better. I'm not really sure though. It just didn't hit like it did for everybody else. I still liked like the little things that both of the characters did for each other, and I like the connection that the female main character had with the guy's kid. I haven't read that too many single dads, and I enjoyed it, but I don't know. It didn't eat like I thought it would. It was kind of mid, which is why I gave it a 3 stars. I just think the plot like could have been more interesting. I don't know, it was kind of just like, but I still enjoyed their connection. I still felt their connection. I still like some of the scenes, but I honestly liked more of the scenes where it was like different from them, just 2 of them being in the house together. I don't know. It was okay. I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I'm not like dying to read the next ones because it kind of made me like, you know, I don't know. That it just shows people have different opinions to books. I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I liked the first one better. So yeah. But I really want to read the rest of the series so I can read the other ones that Elsie Silver has recently come out with, like the Wild Loves or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what those ones, but a lot of people like those ones, so I'm intrigued with those. Next, I wanted to read another quick thriller. I felt it, and this one was very much wintry because I read this in December. This is Rock, Paper, Scissors. A lot of people love Rock, Paper, Scissors. I gave it, again, a 3 stars, but honestly, it was a solid 3 stars. I really enjoyed it. I just, like, I don't know, it wasn't the type of thriller that I enjoy. It was kind of the one where you kind of watch the story happen and then it all comes together at the end. The plot twist wasn't jaw-dropping. Like, I didn't really guess. I kind of guessed it, but I didn't really guess it. But it wasn't, I was like, but I wasn't like, you know? I was kind of forcing myself through it because I wanted to at least hit 25 books this year. So I was like, okay, I need to read it. And I think that if I like didn't read it as fast as I did, I would definitely probably have enjoyed it less, but it was still good. It was still a decent book, and I liked that I read it in the winter. I liked how I read this one in the winter because of the atmosphere of it. Next, I read Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. I gave this a 5 stars because of how beautiful and emotional this book is. This, you can probably hear the plane. Whatever, we're just gonna keep talking. You probably can't hear it that much. This was like the perfect ending, the perfect bow wrapped up of Magnolia and BJ's story. I can't. It was the perfect ending for them. Like, nothing could have been better for them. I'm just really happy for Magnolia and all that she's been through. Just probably one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. It was so, just every line I was reading, I was like, oh my god, that was so beautiful. That scene was so beautiful. That thought was so beautiful. I couldn't. It was so beautiful and a perfect ending, a perfect 5 stars. I love Magnolia and BJ. Thank you. So the last book that I read of 2024, I literally finished it on New Year's Eve, was Twisted Love. I've had this on my shelf for so like, when I say so long, I mean so long. And I finally picked it up. It was a 3 stars. It was a solid 3 stars. It was an interesting book, but like, again, I was trying to hit that 25, so I was, you know, kind of pushing through. I feel like if I let myself read it slower, I probably would have enjoyed it less, but I still enjoyed it. I think that I'm gonna enjoy the second one more. I'm anticipating that one more, and I just got that on Amazon. Like, was it cringy? Yes. Like, the spice scenes were so cringy, but like in like a funny way that I was entertaining, you know? Like, sometimes the cringe is just entertaining, and that's how I felt while I was reading it. Like, was it cringy? Yes. Was it entertaining? Yes. I feel like there was so much going on in such a short amount of time that I was like, whoa. Like, from one chapter to like the next, you're in like a whole different plot, and I'm like, what is happening? But I still, again, it was enjoyable. 3 stars. Pretty good way to end the year. So that was all the books that I read in 2024. Was it 25? Not too many, yes, but there was a lot of quality reads, a lot of my favorite reads that I think I'll have as my favorite reads for like years and years to come. So I'm really happy with what I read this year, and I hope that you all enjoyed listening to me ramble and go on tangents about the books that I love. I'm really excited for what is to come in 2025 and what books I want to read. I'm so excited. I might maybe make a 25 books that I'm like most anticipating and most wanting to read in 2025. If you guys want to see that, let me know. But yeah, I just love my books. Like I could just hug them all. I just love books, and I'm just super happy that I found this hobby of mine that I just have come to know and love. And again, I just hope you enjoyed, and I will be starting to make more book videos coming soon. I'm happy that I started making them again because there's a lot of books that you guys have missed that I read in like 2023 that I didn't know about. We will be making those book videos. Comment more book videos that you want to see of me and any other videos. It doesn't have to be book videos. We can make any videos. I don't care. So that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe. Like a real YouTuber.